Welcome to the 12 Days of Tradmus. If you're new around here, my name is Kit, and Tradmus is a series I do in December where I talk about the harmful beliefs and ideas promoted by certain influencers, content creators, and so on. Basically, my normal content, but more of it and with a festive flair. And today, we let the Jezebel spirit have free reign as we look at the best worst comments of 2025. It would have been so funny if I said 2024. Anyway, I say that, but in reality, I might be a bit more snarky, but I really am just too damn nice. It really is a problem. Anyway, let's start strong. Jake says, the intro said all I need to know about the cat lady. Lies and trickery, up is down, down is up. I can't handle that Misha is more intelligent, more moral, and more attractive than me. Enough said. More government and police power is required to sort out harmful degenerates. Well, let's see what I said in the intro. This video is brought to you by my patrons, my thoughts and opinions, and of course, lies and trickery. Welcome to the upside down where good is bad, right is wrong, and no one knows what's going on. That was unintentional. I wonder if they got past the intro, but I don't think it matters. Honestly, I feel kind of sorry for people like this. They have no sense of humor, they don't understand sarcasm. Anyway, I'm very curious about how they're judging intelligence and morality, and I'm also very curious as to what Jake here thinks the government and police should be doing about degenerates and how they would classify someone as degenerate. Would I be included on that list? I'm guessing so. But anyway, I think this next comment might be my favorite. Professional Playthroughs says, I was going to express my opinion in this comment section, but then I saw there were guidelines, so why bother? Actually, let's refresh our memories of those guidelines. In your comment, please be respectful and sources and resources are in the description box. Bigotry isn't welcome here. No, you aren't an exception. Bad faith, disinformation, gish galloping equals boot. Yeah, that is a lot to ask for. Shame. I bet this person had something really insightful to say. Moving on, Ariel Scarcella videos don't tend to attract much attention, but Fusion Space had a few things to say. First, regarding Ariel is just being honest. So am I when I say that I've been a liberal and a feminist longer than you've been alive. That doesn't hit the way they think it does. And I happen to agree with her about things going too far. See, she's selling a product in a capitalist market and bringing in the normies, while all you do is spout your own opinions. Ariel's also selling... What? She serves as a lightning rod for ours, so it's not a surprise that you happen to agree with her, because you have the same beliefs. Whatever. It is because she serves a greater number of people that I feel her content has more value than yours. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that they have the same beliefs. And I'm glad she is so much more popular than you. Maybe invest in a chair and a desk with the view boost money you get from criticizing her, because all things being equal, I'll take someone more seriously who put in that effort than someone sitting on their living room floor. So I doubt that person has been a feminist or a liberal longer than I've been alive. People tend to think I'm younger than I actually am, but regardless, it's sad that an adult believes that if someone has a lot of subscribers, it can't be views because Ariel's aren't great for nearly 1 million subs. That means they're correct. If they have a professional setup, they must be correct. If they reinforce what you think, they must be correct. I can't compete with someone getting the warm fuzzies because their biases were confirmed. And I'm not going to try. That's not what I'm doing here. My goal is to shine a light on the TradCon BS, and I don't expect those who are enjoying the BS to enjoy it here. As for where I choose to sit, which is apparently a matter of great concern, I've had a desk and chair everywhere I've lived, and I usually sit there when I'm not filming because, except when I had the IKEA desk, they're just not conducive to filming. I need space for my laptop, tablet, mic, and occasional cat. And anyway, I've always preferred sitting on the floor since I was old enough to have preferences. For the life of me, I don't understand why people get upset about it. And also, other people sit on the floor during filming as well. I don't understand why it's such a big deal when I do it. Anyway, around the same time, I also went on a rant on my community tab about how woke didn't make movies bad, it's actually capitalism. This is what I said. My mind is blown that people are blaming wokeness for bad films TV. They will lightly flirt with they want to make as much money with as little effort possible, but skip straight over capitalism and go to DEI is the reason everything is bland and bad. And it's a little funny because while the content creator is telling their audience political correctness is the reason movies can't be good anymore, they have to give you the right message, their audience eats it up and doesn't realize the creator is also giving them a message, which, honestly, is the same throughout their content regardless of topic. It's not capitalism that made entertainment expensive and mostly not worth it, made jobs not pay a livable wage, made your groceries more expensive. No, it's wokeness. It's DEI. It's political correctness. Because they have a message to force feed you whether you like it or not. What that has to do with wages or cost of living, I'm still not sure. For that matter, what is the message these woke films are trying to send? Treat people like people even if they're different from you? I've seen some of the films Trad Cons have freaked out about, Snow White, Barbie, Wicked, and though they vary in terms of how good they were, what message did I miss? Also, these creators are dreaming if they think corporate executives care about any of that. Look at how many rolled back their DEI initiatives the minute the wind changed. It's all performative, just like companies rainbowizing their logos for June. I don't remember who or what caused that speech, but I also don't understand Fusion's response. Your disingenuous arguments make you an excellent example of the feminists we ought not to listen to. Engage with truth first and work from there. You have to meet people where they are. What was disingenuous? Is it just me, or do these folks accusing me of this, that, and the other never take the time to actually tell me what I did or said that was whatever? They just comment and move on? Or, like that commenter last year, they accuse me of things I never said or thought because of what I'm trying not to say? I don't speak in code. I have nothing to hide. I'm not trying to push a hidden agenda on people. I say what I mean and I mean what I say, and that's just it. Let's see. All right. Personally, I think they're trying to poison the well. They want someone to read what I said, scroll down, and then read this comment and think, oh, maybe they're right. And that, by the way, is the reason why I occasionally reply to comments that are obviously bad faith. It's not for me. It's not for the commenter. It's for someone who might be scrolling through. It's the same reason I make content, really. I don't think any of these folks that I make commentary videos about are going to come across my video and suddenly have a change of heart. I do it for those who watch their videos, feel as though something isn't quite right, and try to find someone speaking against them. And I've said this many times, but it bears repeating. I think that's why people like Pearl got so big. We assumed people would be too smart to fall for such lazy nonsense, and we were wrong. If someone is a super tiny creator, yes, don't give them attention. If someone is getting millions of views, yes, please offer pushback so if people search, they can find something besides that person. The thought process when they find nothing opposing a creator isn't, oh, they're not important enough to give attention to. It's, oh, people have nothing to say against this. That creator must be right. Anyway, let's have a little giggle. MGTOW by Logic says, a wife that can make a decent sourdough is a good wife indeed. Now, to most people, that might seem like a benign comment. But my mother makes sourdough, and she also uses it to make bagels and rolls and cookies and cakes, and she makes her own rice-a-roni and her own vanilla, and the list goes on. Very ideal trad wife. She is MAGA, she is Maha, she thinks feminism ruined things for women. She is also my way or the highway. If there is an argument, she is a believer in the loudest voice wins. And she does not at all defer to my father. In fact, you could say she bosses him. So yeah, that just gave me a laugh. And for another laugh, please enjoy this comment on the Mary Harrington video. It baffles me how you pose as an intellectual, yet you cannot comprehend really straightforward arguments. As of scripting on December 28th, they have not clarified what was straightforward in Mary's arguments. But I do intend to read and review her book in the new year, so perhaps that will illuminate things for me. Also, can someone tell me when or where I pose as an intellectual? Anyway, Chris Williamson fans are always such a delight. Just in the first minute or so, I think you are discredited. To say that it's just that anyone can misunderstand is true, but not the point. The point is that men and women are different to the core of who they are. They are created different, or you might even say naturally predisposed. Okay. They are created different, or you might even say naturally predisposed to certain characteristics. That is a generalization. And obviously we can have specific examples that refute that broad statement. I didn't listen past 2 minutes because of this. You know what? If you get something out of thinking you're so different because of your sex, that's your business. But studies show that men and women are more alike than they are different, which makes sense since we are all human, and that holding boys and men to stereotypical masculine norms actually harms them. This belief in how different men and women are also tends to lead to the following. The reason men need to talk to each other about this is quite simple. Women don't make decisions the same way men do, so a fundamental understanding of this eliminates a whole bunch of potential problems. Women don't seem to understand how much of their actions are driven by the subconscious, and it is extremely difficult to have successful interactions without this prior knowledge. Well, thank goodness we have this random person on the internet to tell us women that we don't know why we do things. And that is what comes of treating men and women like they're different species. Women end up as some mysterious other. Anyway, the following is another favorite. This is exactly like extreme red pillar content, but from women's side. I guess people forget to be empathetic, understanding others' point of view, simultaneously disagreeing, or adding their value or wisdom on that content or context without berating. I hop around different content and all I see is one-dimensional thought process or black and white thought process. It's hard to find balanced people. People don't think about thinking of thinking. So I, of course, asked, what did I say that was extreme? Sorry I couldn't summarize my thought on limited comment capacity, nor did I fully convey my message. Rather, you could say it condescending because I undermined your value added. But I was generally saying nowadays, due to radical way of internet culture as well, people lack the depth of thinking and thinking about thinking, or we could say multidimensional thinking. In general, people lack nuances. I can only wish that YouTube limited comment length. Anyway, does anyone know what they were saying? Because I'm still confused. So far as I can tell, they thought I was berating them in that video. I don't think it will ever stop being funny to me how people will either say I'm a lib fem who's too soft, and others think I'm a radical feminist who's basically yelling at them for wrongthink. Anyway, let's do some one-offs before going on adventures in the brain. God Convoy Prime had a bit of a breakdown in the comments. I feel bad for your cats. What's a woman? So how old are you, lady? Because I mean, are you like resigning yourself to die alone? You know you don't have to, right? I mean, it's not that hard. Honestly, I take it all back. Go on, off you go. Someone else chimed in saying that if their options are a red pill guy or dying alone, they're dying alone with no question. And this person who, it did seem like they were very not in favor of me dying alone, said the following. We know. You think we actually like talking to you? We don't. We realize that peace and quiet is better than dealing with you and your ilk. Why do you think singles events are only women now? LMAO. I am so baffled by people who don't like women going to women and telling them they don't like them. I didn't seek you out. You sought me out. And telling me you don't like women, I don't know what effect they think this is going to have, but I'm just bewildered that they would comment all over, a woman's channel. Why torture yourself like that? Anyway, Goatman says, of course, this is a 40-year-old cat lady with no man at all. I was actually 38 in that video, but at least this one doesn't bend the brain. You need to Amy Winehouse yourself, girl. Wow. No. Lewis says, your attempt to trash Pearl has backfired miserably. This video makes me love her even more. Try creating useful content instead. I appreciate how my attempt at trashing Pearl is just playing clips of her content. As it turns out, no one trashes Pearl better than Pearl. Doug says, I thought your channel was a joke. I didn't know there was actually some women out there like you. It's sad. Enjoy your cats and boxed wine. Actually, I did lie in my response. I do drink, but only on special occasions. And you will never see me drinking wine. Nothing wrong with wine, just not my thing, though I sure do get a lot of comments telling me to enjoy my wine. We don't hate women, we hate troll-looking liberal women. Okay, fine, give Pearl your money. If you like being grifted, who am I to stand in your way? Bill Gates Real, yeah, that is definitely Bill Gates, says, the cult of no judgment, what a load of garbage. What is the psychology of someone who actually thinks that? I wonder if there's a real book on that bookshelf. Can someone ask Bill Gates here about the psychology of someone who thinks cults of no judgment exist? Also, what is a cult of no judgment? That doesn't sound like a robust premise for a cult, I must say. Mr. White Goodman says, over 18, not a virgin, don't stop now. Keep on collecting them nuts. Have all the fun you can, sweetie. And JD says, jealous much, fatty? Cat lady needs to get laid. These are but two of the comments related to my vagina, and she would like me to pass on a message. She is fine, she is well tended to, and she would like strangers to leave her out of discussions. It's weird. Anyway, remember that Amala Ekpanobi and Brett Cooper being allies video? Well, it upset a lot of people. I think more about the mere idea that they could be allies than for any other reason. And no one was more upset than Hannah. If this is how you think you prove a fact, then I suggest you go back to school. This isn't proven they are allies. It's a well-known fact they are both more right-leaning. Your video has no evidence, Your video has no evidence, educate, insightful, intelligent, or value. This is exactly why liberals and Democrats are always anger and violent, because they are incompetent. They can't even form a real credible fact, or in your cause, you didn't prove any fact at all. You just said, look, they have similar opinions and they made a video about the same topic. They must be allies and co-conspirators. Try to form some sick plan to trick people. Do you know how that sound and make you look? Also, I'm autistic. I was diagnosed as a young child, so you have to be acting really stupid for an autistic person to say you look and sound by what you're doing and how you're trying to prove your point. If you are go to arguments a point, at least have the decency and the intelligence to know what really evidence is, what a fact is, how to do proper non-biased research, and learn how to properly argue and prove a point. I'm not saying this for me. What you do doesn't affect me, but it does affect you. I think it's pretty embarrassing on your behavior, but you probably don't care. Most people like you don't care about making themselves look like an idiot. For some reason, after I pointed out that the title was sarcasm, this comment was deleted. Weird. Anyway, Caitlin says, weirdo, lady, most Americans feel this way. Nobody wants this in their children's movies. It's not bigotry. Why should their lifestyle be forced on children? Disney is hemorrhaging money. Get a grip. So, to be clear, if a man and woman kiss in a children's movie, that's fine. But if two men or two women do, that's forcing their lifestyle on children? Got it. By the way, that is bigotry. Anne Marie says, what would you know about kids anyway? If by some miracle you did manage to squeeze one out in your lifetime, what are the odds that dad's still around? This coordinated attack must be getting desperate. If they're resorting to enlisting these low-class, lame-sauce, eggless, spineless, jealous, bitter excuses for podcasters, they must be losing the battle. For a start, this news is old. It's not the mic drop this poor lady thinks it is. Who convinced this monotonous, bland sauce, sleep-inducing character that it could make a difference by meekly using buzzword rhetoric rebuttals circa 2022? And against either of these two absolute YouTube powerhouses? That's just mean. I think the 7,000 refers to the points for hyping the video, but anyway, Amala and Brett are the ones who decided to make a video in 2025 about Toy Story, and I was just responding in kind. I do appreciate the idea that I was enlisted as part of some coordinated attack when Brett and Amala are the ones with money behind them. Anyway, really? I'm not a guy. I'm an actual person who is not being paid to spread any type of belief system, but is just voicing her own thoughts and opinions about what she sees. Speaking of which, Moses says, but she isn't lying though. I watch your videos for fun, but in majority of them, you're clearly implying stuff that never happened or trying to push a narrative. I understand you're on different political sides, but you can report on something with being biased, I think they mean without being biased, and without hating someone just because they disagree with you. It's not bigotry to acknowledge that same-sex relationships cannot have children of their own, and you used bad faith to argue for it. We do not hate gay people or even trans people. No, that's not true at all. We just ask you, mostly left-leaning people, to acknowledge that it's not normal and keep it out of kids' content, and that goes for normal relationships as well. Saying same-sex couples aren't normal and demanding they be kept out of kids' content is bigotry. Now, if you also insist that straight couples be kept out of kids' content, okay, but that is very rare. But yeah, if you tell yourself you're okay with gay people, you just don't want to see them kiss or hold hands, or it's not normal, you're actually not as okay with gay people as you think. And at that, again, I'm not a reporter, I am literally doing commentary. And that's not a cop-out, that's just fact. I should not be considered a journalist because I am not a journalist. And for that matter, I've never claimed to be one. However, that doesn't mean everything I say is just based on what I think is right. If I say, for example, men and women are more alike than they are different, I'm going to have a source for that, because I do feel a sense of responsibility toward anyone viewing my content. And that is why I'm not a YouTube powerhouse. Feelings sell, facts don't. But would anyone like to tell me if they also agree I'm clearly implying stuff that never happened or trying to push a narrative, and if so, examples please. I try to stick strictly to what the person I'm doing commentary on is saying, so I can't be accused of taking things out of context or putting words in their mouth. I will ask questions and theorize because tradcons are delightfully vague. For example, Ali Stucky. She doesn't come right out and say, if gay couples want to have kids, it's so they can abuse them. Instead, she says,
take religion out of it. Let's just look at this scientifically. Two men or two women who want to be in a relationship have to acknowledge that they do not have the parts that are needed to create a child. And therefore, because biology, not bigotry, has set limitations on your reproductive abilities, then there should be limits and restrictions and regulations around your ability to obtain and raise a child. Because you see all of the hoops that have to be jumped through and all of the moral limitations that have to be placed to the side in order for an inherently unstable relationship like this to procure a child.
Question. Is it procuring a child when straight couples adopt? I see the language she's using here, but please note that these men did things the way Ali says she would prefer. They didn't use IVF or surrogacy, they adopted a child in need of a home. And that's not good enough for her because they're three men. Though I would like to note that even if it was two men, she still wouldn't approve. And part of my commentary is digging through the BS they cling to for that plausible deniability to get to the root of their meaning. They really aren't that subtle when you pay attention. But if you dislike that, if you think that makes me dishonest, that's your business and you don't have to watch my videos. Speaking of, I think a group of teens must have been sharing the Pearl video in Discord or something because all of a sudden I got these gems. It is always hilarious how feminists are the least feminine and most hideous woman imaginable. Single women love to keep women single. Feminists love to keep pushing that strong, independent woman until the bill comes due. I don't know how I got recommended this video. It seems that this person is trying to not understand something in order to deny the existence of a problem. Civilization can only continue if we all acknowledge that reproduction is key. Drops in reproduction rate are signs or problems. We have problems. Typical stuff. Captain, though. Yikes. It would appear that feminism is giving Western women the idea that education, working, and careers are more important than starting a family. Women's fertility window is actually right in the beginning of their life, right in the education career years. It gets infinitely more difficult later on. What should be done to prevent total Western civilizational collapse due to lack of reproduction? So, I'm just going to share what I said in response to that because, why not? It would appear that you don't know anything about feminism, or women's fertility for that matter, except what you've gleaned from anti-feminists. But anyway, women already know we can do more than procreate. Feminism has existed in every society. And women are more than their fertility, though you lot do seem to enjoy trying to convince us otherwise. Women know their bodies. Women know what they want for their lives. Please stop concern trolling about women's fertility and remember, women don't owe the world children. And if you want women to have kids, make the world worth bringing more humans into. And no, Western civilizational collapse is not a good reason. And please remember that pregnancy is an incredibly dangerous and stressful endeavor. No matter how easy it seems to you, you're asking a lot of women. I'm also going to remind everyone that the US has the highest infant and maternal mortality rate among high-income nations. So the US offers worse than nothing to parents, and women are supposed to have kids anyway? If reproducing is so damn important, offer something. I was being sarcastic because you were insulting. It seemed fitting. I don't want women to suffer. That's a malicious statement. If you lost the snark and engaged in a way to want to have your mind changed, then that's how growth happens. I leave my red pill man cave and you push back on your own feminism. We actually can take care of everyone on the planet. It wouldn't even be logistically difficult. The real problem is that not all cultures are equal and they don't value the same things, and that leads to trust issues, which then leads to conflict. I know you know this because I can see you're not dumb. With that in mind, we can't make everyone everywhere have the same social values. Many aren't equipped mentally to handle that. It's a physical reality of the universe. So what then? Do we just let everything crumble because, aw shucks, we just can't seem to get along? Or do we make an effort and reach out? Anyways, I tried. Whatever. Go in peace. It's funny. When I do push back on some form of feminism, that doesn't count. I am curious, though, how they feel about capitalism, as they rightly recognize that we could indeed take care of everyone, we just choose not to for the sake of profit margins. So I basically, TLDR, hierarchy needs to go. To which they responded, no governments, no institutions, no corporations, no families, just pure anarchy? Chaos is what you're advocating for? That's madness. No, wait, that's madness. Hierarchy is the only thing that matters. So not kids then? By your logic then, feminism is anti-civilization. I just can't. I thought they knew something about feminism, but if they did, they would know there are plenty of feminists in favor of the status quo. But anyway, I of course noted you can have civilization without hierarchies and ask why they think they're better than others, so that they deserve to live in the house while others live in the basement. And I'm sure we'll all be shocked. That language has no power anymore. Deserve. Ha. No, you cannot have civilization without hierarchies. Yes, I do think I'm better than many, 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 many people in many metrics. Both subjective and objective metrics. I take what I want. I eat what I kill. I do what I will. But I still answer to my peers and superiors. The difference between you and me in that regard is that I choose my superiors, my role models, through free association. Responsibility without authority is slavery. You want me to be responsible for the well-being of the whole world, the others in the basement, but give me no authority to manage them in order to get them out of said basement. That's why I laugh at your deserve trap word. My brother in Christ. Civilization doesn't require some people to be held above others. And that also means you wouldn't be responsible for the well-being of the whole world, because the world would be free, there would be no one in the basement. And you don't have to manage them. The people in the basement don't need managers, they need people to stop propagating authority structures. Though this person does admit to thinking they're better than others, and they couldn't even respond without imagining themselves above the people in the basement, not one of the people in the basement, so I'm pretty sure it's not society they're worried about, but their own sense of superiority. But anyway, this does bring to mind a comment exchange I had with someone else on the Pearl video. What rights do men have that women don't? My response? I gave you water, but I can't make you drink. To which they said, literally just tell me, do I need to read 300 pages? Yes. Yes, you do need to read. And listen. It occurred to me in this discussion that the commenters who thanked me for helping them break out of the tradcon or red pill beliefs, they were actively seeking knowledge, not to win an internet argument, but because they had a genuine interest and desire to make life better for themselves and others. And you're not going to understand patriarchy or feminism or how women and other marginalized groups have been oppressed by one YouTube video or one book. And I have never and would never encourage people to watch, for example, just me. There is a lot of great educational content out there, of which breaking down patriarchy is just one. I have more linked on the homepage. As for myself, I began learning about feminism, Christian nationalism, politics years ago, and I still keep learning. I didn't read just one book and say, okay, I'm a feminist now. I read about feminism for years before I felt comfortable calling myself a feminist, and my beliefs still evolve based on new information. There's a lot more I could and would honestly like to say here, but it's not possible for me to cover everything in every video, which is one of the reasons I stick to commentary. And I get that that can be frustrating, but well, even for those for which YouTube is their full-time employment, they don't do that. It would be so repetitive and boring. And for anyone who might be new here, YouTube isn't my job. I would think that would be obvious, but I get some odd comments sometimes that make me realize maybe it isn't. I promise, YouTube doesn't pay what you might hope. I do this on top of my actual job, volunteering, friends, etc. And I do this not to spread my own beliefs, but because this is the content I want to see. Taking tradcons seriously, not just mocking them. And really, if it was about spreading my beliefs, I would talk about them more. And this is also a special interest of mine, and talking about it here means I'm not driving my friends insane. Anyway, I'd like to thank everyone who's taken the time to leave kind, thoughtful comments, and for those who have had the patience to engage with the folks who are not so kind and thoughtful. I think my resolution for 2026 is to ignore those comments more often because I really do have more important things to do. I want to post more videos here and on my Patreon. I want to create a website. There's a couple ideas I have for the DSA, and that doesn't really leave a lot of time for discussions that lead nowhere. I have no idea how I'm going to make myself stick to that because I don't want to stop reading the comments, but, you know, it's always good to have something to strive for. And that concludes Tradmas 2025. May 2026 be better for everyone watching this and the world. Happy New Year.